everyone! Welcome back to Get Your Play Online. My name is Michelle, and today for science we are going to be making some firefighter spray. And essentially firefighter spray is just going to be some special sidewalk paint that we're making, and then we're going to spray it with some vinegar and make it fizzle. So if you have done some science lessons with me before, you probably know that we love to use baking soda and vinegar because they are so much fun to play with and such an easy science lesson. So if you want to learn how to make firefighter spray with me today, just keep on watching and I'll let you know what you'll need to join along in this activity with me. So like I said, first we're going to need some baking soda and we're going to need some vinegar. This is what's going to make it so special and fizzle like we're putting out a fire and using our firefighter spray. So these two are the magic ingredients in our science experiment today. So you'll need actually a lot of baking soda, about half of a box full. So that's about half of a pound of baking soda, and some white vinegar. You'll need some cornstarch and some food coloring. I have red, yellow, and blue because I'm going to make my my sidewalk paint look like flames. So if you want to make it look more like flames and pretend that you're a firefighter, you're gonna need these colors, red, yellow, orange, maybe even a little bit of blue, because that's what color that fire is. So these are the ingredients for the paint that we're using. For utensils, we're definitely going to need a spray bottle, some mixing bowls. I have a large one here and then I have a few smaller ones. I have a little spatula to mix with and a whisk to mix with. And lastly, I have a 1/4 cup measuring utensil. So that is everything that we'll need to make the paint. Once we have the paint all ready and made, we're gonna take it outside and paint on the sidewalk and pretend to be firefighters together. And so you're gonna need just a few painting utensils. I just have some paintbrushes over here and a sponge. So you can really use whatever painting utensils you have laying around. You're gonna want the paintbrushes to be a little bigger, kind of like mine, because we're gonna be painting on the sidewalk. So you're gonna want something that's a little bigger like this, or maybe even like the foam paintbrushes that you can get at the craft supply store. So let's go ahead and get started, you guys. The first thing that we're going to do is mix together our dry ingredients, and I'm just wiping out my bowl because it's a little wet because I just washed it. And you will need access to warm water while you're making this. That's why I'm in the kitchen today, so I can turn on my sink and let the water heat up. So it is a good idea to either get a bowl of water and microwave it. Ask mom and dad, please, before using the microwave, or just use your sink and turn the hot water on your sink. So I've got my big mixing bowl here, and we're just gonna go ahead and start by emptying half of the baking soda box into the bowl. And it doesn't have to be exact, that's why I'm saying about half, because this recipe doesn't require exact measurements. And a little shout out to kidsactivitiesblog.com, because that's where I found this recipe for awesome fizzing sidewalk paint. So I've got my box open here. Oh, that was kind of messy. Sorry, friends. I've got my box open here. We're gonna pour about half in the big mixing bowl. Just about half the box, and this is what mine looks like so far. And then we are going to pour 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of cornstarch into our big mixing bowl with our baking soda. Ooh, and I have just enough cornstarch. So that's gonna go in with the baking soda. And I'm gonna take my whisk here and mix them together so they're nice and incorporated. And there's no clumps in there. Okay, so here we have our baking soda and our cornstarch. And the last ingredient we're going to need to mix in is some warm water. You want this water to be almost hot. So please go ahead and ask mom and dad for help with getting some hot water, okay? And we're just gonna mix our warm water into our dry ingredients slowly and mix them well. We want it to be a paint-like consistency, so we don't want it to be too thick, but we don't want it to be like really runny. So I'm just going to mix in about a 1/4 cup of water at a time, and I'm gonna be using my little spatula here. So it's gonna be kind of loud. I'm gonna turn my sink on and get the hot water going. Okay, and so like I said, we're gonna mix it in nice and slow because we want to make sure that we don't put too much water. So I'm just pouring a little bit of warm water at a time, and then I'm gonna mix it with my spatula. And it's gonna be really like gunky at first. It's gonna be kind of hard to mix. But just keep on mixing. See, this is what mine kind of looks like after the first cup of water that I put in there. So I'm definitely gonna need more. So I'm gonna turn my water back on. And I've just got a cup now of the warm water, so I don't have to keep turning my water back on and off. But I am just going to add a tiny bit at a time. We don't want to dump a whole huge amount of water in here because we just don't want too much water. And the more water you add, the easier it is going to be to stir. So just keep adding water a little bit at a time and stirring. That's what I have so far. It's still super clumpy. It's not really looking like paint yet, but it will. And the weird thing about cornstarch and baking soda is that when you mix them together, they get really hard when you apply pressure. So when I'm mixing, they tend to harden up. And then when you relax, it kind of loosens and gets really runny. So that is the tough thing about baking soda and cornstarch. But if you're having a hard time mixing it, then it's probably good to just add a little bit more water. Because if you're having a hard time mixing it, then you're probably gonna have a hard time painting with it. So just keep adding water until you can easily mix with your spatula. And it looks like I'm almost there. I'm getting a little bit more of a liquid rather than a big chunk. So I feel like I'm almost there with mine. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more water. Just a tiny bit, and that should be good. So you should be able to easily pull your spatula or whatever you're using to mix. You should be able to easily pull that through your mixture. It shouldn't be hard to pull the spatula through. There's what I have so far. And I feel like this is a pretty good consistency. It's not too hard or tough, but it's also not very runny. Kind of looks like glue. When it's ready, it'll probably look like the consistency of glue. So now that we have all of our ingredients mixed together, we're going to put color into our paint mixture with some food coloring. And I have got 3 separate bowls here. I can't really see. I've got 3 separate bowls, and that's because I have 3 separate colors. So however many colors you want to make, that's how many bowls you're going to need to separate out your mixture. So I'm gonna pour my paint into the 3 bowls. I'm gonna try my best to make it even. It's okay if there's more in one than the others. Okay. So we've got our 3 bowls. This one definitely has more over here, so I'm just gonna spread it out. And now it's time to add our food coloring. So I'm first going to start with my blue, and you really only need a few drops. So I would start maybe with 3 or 4 drops of food coloring and work from there. Wow, that's such a pretty blue color. I could have even gone with maybe 2 drops for this one, I think. And once you've got your food coloring drops in, you can start mixing it up with your paint, with your spatula or your spoon or whatever you use to mix up your paint. That's what you can use to mix in your food coloring. Just make sure to rinse it off in between. Okay, next. Our blue is done. Next, I'm going to do some yellow, and I'm going to add about 3, whoops, I put 4, that's okay. About 3 or 4 drops. And just mix, 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 mix until it's totally mixed in and there's no streaky lines left. Here's my yellow, that looks nice. And last is my red food coloring. And I'm not gonna worry about, 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to worry about rinsing off my yellow spatula because I feel like it's okay if a little bit of yellow gets in my red, because together yellow and red make orange. And if you have seen fire before, or if you've at least seen a big fire, like a bonfire or a campfire, you know that there are multiple colors inside the fire. It can look red, it can look orange, it can look yellow, and really, really hot fire actually has a little bit of blue in it. So I'm just gonna add 1 more drop of red. If you have yellow food coloring, or if you wanted to mix your yellow and your red together to make orange, that would be really cool. I just thought it would be nice to have blue for a little bit of variety. So there are our 3 colors. Here's my red, and I'm actually just gonna put 1 more drop of red to make it nice and vibrant. And yes, there we go. That red is looking real good. Okay, so we have our paint ready, we have our colors all mixed in, and this is ready to be taken outside and we can start painting with it. But first, we have to add our vinegar, and this is where we're going to take our spray bottle, add vinegar, and then we can take everything outside and start playing. So you can ask mom or dad or an older sibling or an adult around to help you pour the vinegar, because we don't want to spill it. So you can either ask mom and dad or an adult that's around to help you pour it like this, or maybe you have a funnel at your house, something like this that you can use in the kitchen, and then pour it in like this. I think this is a lot easier. It prevents spilling. And I'm just going to fill my spray bottle about halfway. We don't need too much vinegar, but we do want enough to be able to play with all of our paints. So we're just going to pop the top on, make sure it's tight, and grab your paintbrushes and any other painting supplies you want. I've got a sponge here just to kind of, you know, see what happens. I haven't tried to use a sponge before with paint. So we're going to take our painting supplies, our spray bottle with vinegar, and our 3 colors of paint inside the bowls. And we are going to head outside to play and to paint a fire scene. So I'm just going to bring you guys with me, and we're going to head to my backyard. Okay, it's really hot outside today in Texas. Is it hot outside where you guys live? I think it's almost 100 degrees because it's the heat of the day out here in Texas. All right. So now is when we can really get creative and paint with our little homemade sidewalk paint that we made. And like I said, this is going to be Firefighter Spray. So I'm going to paint some flames and a fire just because I want to pretend I'm a firefighter that's putting out some flames with my special firefighter spray. So if you guys want to, you can paint along with me and make your own fire scene. You can also just paint whatever you want. It's really up to you. So I've got my paints out here and my paintbrush, and I'm just gonna start putting the paint on the sidewalk. And your paint might be a little bit clumpy, that's okay. Just try and brush it out as best you can and be patient with it, because it is kind of a little bit of a different consistency than regular sidewalk paint because it's got that cornstarch in there, it's got baking soda in there. So just try and be patient with your paint and spread it out the best you can. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah. And these paints are going to be nice and light colored. They're going to dry really fast. They're almost going to look like a chalk, like a really pastel consistency. And I'm going to switch over to my sponge and see how that works out. So I like the sponge. I think the sponge lets you get a lot more color on the cement than the paintbrush. Yeah, you guys can see that. It's really light. Like I said, it's gonna come out almost looking like a chalk color. So just be patient with it and try and spread it out. I'm working with my red right now. So there's some red, and now I'm gonna try and get some yellow down. Ooh, that yellow is really pretty. I love the color yellow. And you can kind of see that my paints are mixing a little bit, like the red and the yellow are mixing, but they're not really like turning orange. They're kind of just staying in their same color, which is really interesting to me. So you guys just keep on painting and get creative and make the coolest fire scene. And I kind of think it's cool to almost let the paint like drip like this. I think that looks kind of cool. And then kind of like press it out. That's pretty cool. And it makes like a cool texture too. You can also use your hands. So I'm gonna do that again. Hopefully y'all can see that. I think that looks like actual flames. That's what I have so far. I'm gonna make another one of those. Right here. And this paint does dry really fast, so you're gonna want to like try and work with it while it's still wet in the bowl. Whoa, that's so cool. I really like the way that it looks when it drips. And you can also, when you're getting toward the end of your bowl, you can just kind of let it fall out of the bowl so that it doesn't stick inside the bowl and dry there. And then just spread it out. Like I said, I really like the sponge for this. So I'm curious if you guys are doing this at home. I wonder what your favorite way to paint is. Do you like the paintbrush better? Do you like using your hand? Do you like the sponge? And this one, this yellow is kind of separating a little bit, so I'm gonna try and mix it up before I start painting. Woo! A little bit came out, that's okay. And here I'm gonna let the yellow kind of drip. It's really bright out here, friends, so I'm having a hard time seeing my screen. There we go. Like I said, it is hot, hot, hot out here in Texas. It is the hottest part of the day. I wouldn't be surprised if it was over 100 degrees. The sun is out and it is hot. I wonder what the weather's like where you're from. It rained earlier today. We got a nice rain shower earlier. And I'm just going to use my finger on this last one because you can kind of see, hopefully, it's gotten kind of hard as it's sitting here. So you might need to mix it back up. There we go. And then you can totally use your finger in this paint. It's not gonna stain your skin or anything like that. So I'm just going to let this blue kind of drip onto my fire landscape. And I'm gonna paint with my fingers. And this does have a really cool texture, so it can be pretty fun to paint with your fingers. If you want to do that, that's cool. All right, friends, I think I'm just about done painting. I'd like to go ahead and start spraying with our magic firefighter spray. I just want to make sure that you guys can see this well when I start spraying it. So I'm gonna scoot you around here. There we go. Hopefully y'all can see. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we've got our spray bottle here and we've got it filled with vinegar. We're gonna start spraying the flames and we're gonna put out the fire and we're gonna watch what happens when we spray with our firefighter spray. Whoa, it's fizzling. Put out the fire, friends. Put it out quick. I see lots and lots of fizzles and lots of bubbles. Whoa, lots of bubbles. The fire is fizzling out. Put it out, put it out. Wow, that's so cool. I'm gonna keep spraying my fire and put it out until the bubbles are all gone. Wow, put out the fire. Whoa, that was so cool. Did you guys see what happened when our vinegar firefighter spray reacted with our paint? It had a reaction and some fizzing came out from the baking soda and the vinegar reacting together. Whoa, and that is really cool. It definitely changed texture. And you can definitely feel how different the paint is now that we added the vinegar. Still, there's more bubbles. It's fizzling out. Whoa! All right. Great job putting out the fire, friends. That was so much fun. So that was really cool to watch. And here is what my flames look like now. We put all the flames out. Great job, you guys. So that was a chemical reaction that was happening between the baking soda and the vinegar that we have. But it was really cool to kind of pretend that we were firefighters putting out the flames, because if you've ever seen a fire go out, it kind of fizzles when you put it out. Just like our flames and our paint fizzled when we put it out with our firefighter spray. So I'm gonna take you guys inside now. I'm gonna wash my hands really quick and then we can read a story together to finish up our activity. So we're heading back to my kitchen and I'm just gonna wash my hands so I can get my book. And it's really, really important to always wash your hands when you're done playing outside and get all the germs off from outside. Wash, wash, wash your hands, get them nice and clean. On the top and on the bottom, even in between. Wash, wash, wash your hands. Wash them every day. On the top and on the bottom, wash them every day. Okay, hands are clean. Now let's grab our book and get comfy because I have a great story to wrap up our activity with Pete the cat. So I'm gonna head over to the table so I can have a seat while I read. Okay. All right. I had so much fun playing with you guys today, and I'm really happy I get to wrap it all up with one of my favorite book characters, Pete the cat. This is called Firefighter Pete the cat by James Dean. And this is just a little story about Pete the cat, of course, and it shows how he is a firefighter. So let's read it together. Pete the cat, Firefighter Pete. Here we go. We are going on a class trip today, says Principal Nancy. She leads the class to a bright yellow bus. Everybody climbs on board. There we go. They are going to visit the firehouse today. The bus parks next to the bright red firehouse. Pete and his classmates are so excited. The firehouse is huge. It's so big it can hold 2 long red fire trucks and all of the firefighters' equipment. Woo, these pages are slippery with my freshly washed hands. The firefighters show the kids around. They give everyone a turn to ring the old brass fire bell outside of the firehouse. Ring, ring. Then all the kids take turns sliding down the firefighter's pole. Whee! Callie yells as she glides down. The firefighters allow the kids to try on their gear. Firefighters wear a lot of equipment. First, Pete puts on the heavy black overalls. Then he steps into the tall black boots. A firefighter helps Pete put on the heavy yellow jacket. Finally, they place a hard black helmet on Pete's head. All this gear is very heavy. Pete can barely move. The firefighters allow the kids to explore one of their fire trucks. Callie sits in the driver's seat. She presses the horn. Brrr. It's so loud that all the kids cover their ears. Then Pete turns on the sirens and lights. The sirens blare. Wee-oo, wee-oo. The lights flash red and yellow. Suddenly, a loud bell rings in the firehouse. Uh-oh, it's the fire alarm. There's a fire in town. Gear up, Pete. The firefighters scramble into their gear very quickly. Pete puts on his gear too. They all climb aboard the fire truck and turn on the siren and lights. Firefighter Pete and the firefighters are on their way. Wee-oo, wee-oo. The fire engine races through the town and the lights flash all around. A firefighter presses the horn. Brrr. All the other cars move out of the way. There's the fire. It's hot and loud, but the firefighters know exactly what to do. They work together as a team to connect the fire truck to the fire hydrant. Then the firefighters attach a long, heavy hose to the truck. Firefighter Pete gives a signal and the firefighters turn on the water. Whoosh! The water gushes out very fast. Several firefighters must hold the hose to control it. Pete helps direct the hose as they spray the fire with water. The fire is starting to go out. There is smoke everywhere. Suddenly, Pete hears yelling from the roof. Oh no, it's Grumpy Toad. He needs to be rescued. The firefighters raise a long ladder from the truck. Crank, crank, crank. The ladder goes up and up and up. Firefighter Pete and another firefighter help Grumpy Toad climb down the ladder carefully. Yay, the fire is out and everyone is safe. The firefighters drive back to the firehouse. They take off all their gear and they pat Pete on the back and say, "Good job, Pete. Firefighter Pete helped save the day." The end. That was Firefighter Pete. Just like you guys were firefighters earlier when you put out the paint fire with your firefighter spray. I really hope that you guys enjoyed playing with me today and exploring firefighters together and playing with paint and art and science all together. I really hope you guys have a fun week. We have so much fun planned for you guys because it's Superhero and Community Helpers Week. So I really hope you guys enjoyed yourselves and you have a great day. I'll see you all next time at Get Your Play Online. Bye, friends.